All right. All right, everybody. Reggie Edwards, the Front Row Report. I am hyped, honored, and privileged to have some time today with the man, John Cooper from Skillet. John, thank you for taking time today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's good to talk to you.
Man, it's been a fun year for you guys already this year. You started off the year with the road show. You've been on tour on the road with Third Day now for about going on 4 months now. Wrapping up the third month. You're doing the spring tour with them and with We As Human and Jamie Grace and Peter Furler. Man, how can you describe the way the year has started for you guys?
Well, every year poses its own incredible adventures. and I'll tell you, man, this year is already just, I'm looking at the rest of it going, man, this is going to be crazy. But it's been a really wonderful year. As you mentioned, we've been on tour Third Day since January on two different runs, but with them, which has been really, really exciting. And I've been a Third Day fan since they came out. Our bands came out at a similar time. They were about 8 months to a year earlier than us, and we've never toured together. So it was a really just exciting time to be on the stage with some great players, and all the people on this tour are just sweet-spirited people. I know that sounds a little corny, but it's true. Sometimes you get on the road with a bunch of bands, and there's a lot of different egos, and there's just a lot of the opposite of that, sweet-spirited people. So it's been a great, great run, and then, of course, after this, we're doing this run with Toby Mac and Lecrae, which is just going to be absolutely epic. Oh man, I'm so excited. After that, we go to Europe and Russia for 6 weeks. We're doing all sorts of dates in Europe. We're doing some opening dates. We're opening at some festivals, one for Linkin Park and one for Aerosmith and Alice Cooper and weird stuff like that. And we're also doing some of our own club dates in Europe. Then we go to Russia and do some festivals over there as well.
Awesome. And it never ends for Skillet. You guys are definitely one of the heaviest touring bands in the country, regardless of the genre. By far one of the heaviest, hardest working bands there is. And it's cool to see everything happening the way it's been happening lately.
Well, thank you.
Yes. Rise, the new album, not kind of new, been out for almost a year now. Best charting album you've had so far on the U.S. rock charts. As always, done very well in the Christian charts with Christian fans. I've been following Skillet since Alien Youth. I'm sure you don't get that very often. But with Rise, for me, it seemed like you guys kind of use some of the older, more classic Skillet elements and sounds on this one. Some of the electronic elements, and to me, it's like Alien Youth meets Collide meets Comatose and Awake. It's like all of them in one, kind of. It's really cool to hear.
Right. Well, it's funny to hear everybody's different take on the record. I would actually agree with that. I kind of felt like, with the electronic stuff, there's some real classic kind of sounding Skillet stuff. And of course, we tried new things that we've never done on the record, on like Good to Be Alive and American Noise. They've got a little bit of that, Americana, classic rock sound to it, and some Fire and Fury is very different, but I kind of thought it was a little bit of a montage of those records as well, and I was talking to somebody last week that reviewed and was like, oh man, Rise just sounds this and this, and I was just a fan of the older albums like Collide and Alien Youth, and you guys don't sound anything like that, and I was thinking, well, I kind of think this record has a little bit of that in it, actually.
It definitely does.
I think the thing about Skillet that makes us a little different, I don't think Skillet by any means, recreated the wheel. We're not U2. We didn't start a genre of music. The thing that makes us a little unique is that we can do a lot of different genres, and we have done a lot of different genres, all the way from hard rock to electronica to techno rock to industrial to worship music to modern metal. There's a lot of different things in there, and I think Skillet kind of has a way of doing it. It kind of still, something about it still sounds like Skillet, even though it's new. And that's because I just love music. You know, I love eras of music. I love 70s arena rock, and you can hear that in our sound, you know, in like the strings and the orchestra and the drama. You can feel a little bit of that Fleetwood Mac, Meatloaf, Kansas, Journey era. You can hear that in the music, but also I love metal, and I grew up in the 80s, so you can hear Metallica in our music, and you can hear some of that metal influence. And then, of course, you know, beyond that, you've got 90s, Linkin Park and Evanescence, and you can hear all of these different things in a Skillet record. And that's what I think makes it kind of, hopefully, fun to listen to for the listener.
Yeah, like you said, you guys have used a lot of different genres. The sound has really evolved over the years. You know, you went from, with the self-titled, from kind of a grunge type sound to the electronic industrial that we heard on Invincible and Hey You, I Love Your Soul and Alien Youth, into the hard rock of Collide, into the symphonic elements with Comatose and Awake. What really kind of sparked the changes along the years? Is it just musical growth or wanting to experiment?
You know, I think it's a little bit of all of it. You know, I think, you know, for me, it's not like, oh, I get bored, you know, but I don't want to keep doing the same thing over and over because, you know, just as a music listener's taste change, you know, if you think about the music you like now, and in a few years you might get a little bored of that and want to hear something that sounds new, you know. You just like, it's fun to evolve, and as a listener, you know, I evolve in what I enjoy listening to. And as a writer, I want to keep switching it up, you know, and it is important to change with the times and try new things as well. So I think the goal for Skillet has just been, let's try some new stuff. Let's don't stay, you know, stagnant and just doing the same record over and over, but let's put some surprises on the record, and it makes it more enjoyable for the listener, and it makes it enjoyable for us, you know, keep playing the same 4 chords over and over.
I remember when I bought Alien Youth, it was the first album I bought with my own money, and then I remember listening to it, then Collide came out, and I remember thinking, I'm going to turn this all the way up on my headphones, my Discman. I just remember I did not expect Collide to be that heavy, and just as soon as Forsaken came on, I think that's why I don't have much hearing left, because it just blew everything I had in my hearing out of this world. I was like, oh my god, it's so loud, but it was good.
Oh, that's cool. Well, thanks. You know, Collide was kind of getting back to the roots of Skillet. Skillet's first record was just a hard rock album. You know, we had a little bit of strings, but they were not keyboards, and it was not meant to be anything but hard rock. And I went down to the electronica path, which I love. The industrial stuff we did on Invincible and Alien Youth was, at the time, you know, pretty cutting edge for Christian music.
Yeah.
It was definitely ish, but not being done a lot, and I enjoyed it. And then when Collide came out, I thought, you know what, I want to do a record that just, you know, beats people's heads in. And Collide was a very riffy album,
Yeah.
and still one of my favorites to listen to, because it was pretty much just 10 rock tracks, you know, no fluff in it. And it was fun to listen to. And then after that, when we made Comatose, you know, again, it was a little bit of a, okay, you know, we did the riff rock thing, which I really loved, and I want to keep some of that. And there's some of that on Comatose, but then I thought, let's kind of get let's try to do something a little more unique. And Comatose was the record that really solidified a Skillet sound. And that was, you know, yes, it's a little riffy. Yes, it's kind of hard-edged, but it's also very symphonic and dramatic. And that is when things really, I think, got nailed down with our sound.
Exactly. That's really when things started to really take off for Skillet. It's been really, like for me, someone that's, you know, I've watched the growth of Skillet over the years. It's been so fun to watch. You, as the founder of Skillet, you know, you've got a front seat view to everything. How has it been for you to watch everything happen, you know, from the very beginning with the self-titled to, you know, playing the main stage at Rock on the Range last year to playing Download this year for the first time in the UK with the most legendary festival there is almost, and really taking it to another level. I mean, that's got to be insane for you to see.
Yeah, you know, it is. years, it's been surprising, and I'm sure there are other stories like this, but for something to really take off 10, 11, 12 years into your career is really strange. And to have so many records out, it's the fact that we've kept a lot of our original fans, but also gained new, younger people. It's just been kind of surprising. So, it's been fun, and I don't know how long, that'll keep lasting. I really don't know what to expect in the future, but it's been thrilling and surprising.
Awesome. Any plans for, because some of the newer fans may not know that you guys have done this before, but any chances of maybe another worship album in the future from Skillet?
I kind of doubt it. And even though that was a really big part of what we used to do, and frankly, we used to do worship at our shows before I ever heard of Delirious, and before that big worship thing that happened around 98, 99 in America. We were doing worship at our shows in 95, and it was just a part of what we did. And that was a really cool thing, but, I feel really pulled a lot more towards evangelism and the lost than I do, worship I would see as something that's more for the church. And, I just feel my calling more to the rock genre. So I'm not against it, and obviously I still love music and all of that. It's nothing I'm against, it's just something that we don't feel called to. So I would be surprised. But honestly, anything can happen in business.
Well, I mean, on Rise, exactly, and on Rise, My Religion, that is basically taken from Nothing But the Blood of Jesus, an old worship hymn. A lot of parts from that song, from that worship song on that one, so there's still some elements of it. In fact, on the song Heart Find, that song reminds me of, like, You Are My Hope kind of era. It has a little bit of that rock worship thing to it, and probably since Alien is in my mind. Yeah, I mean, and speaking of evangelism, for me, sitting down and listening to Rise all the way through, it seems like you guys are a lot more straightforward and open about, not open, but you talk about your faith a lot more on Rise than you did on Awake or Comatose. I mean, it's, the intro to Salvation, My Religion, What I Believe, Freak Show, songs like that are very, very faith-based and very openly, faith-based songs. Was that something you guys set out to do on this record?
One of I set out to do, I didn't notice that, as I was writing this. I think this is a little bit more open, and they were just songs, and I thought that's really cool, and I felt good about it. And again, funny thing, as I told you, it's funny to hear different people's, the same person I spoke to last week that was like, oh, this doesn't sound like Skillet, your older records, and I was a little surprised. He also said, because you guys used to be open about your faith, and this record is just not open at all. And I thought, really? I really don't think that's accurate, And
opposite, actually. It's probably the most openly faith-based album since maybe Alien Youth, or I think, not that the other albums didn't have that, but it's, you listen to it, you can tell these guys are Christians.
Yeah, I really thought that too, and that's the same thing I said. But everybody's got a different take on it, and I don't mind people thinking whatever they think, But I thought it was too, and again, I wasn't setting out to do one or the other. I just try to write the songs I feel that God is giving me, and this is what God wants me to say for this record, and it turned out, in my opinion, and yours, apparently, to be, a pretty vocal record for Christ. And certainly, even if it's not obvious, there's enough things about it that people want to know. And on all my interviews, they ask me, so what is being read at the beginning of the song Salvation? What is this Rise thing about? Because it sounds like, this and this and this. And you do not have to dig very deep into those answers to find out
Right.
our faith in God behind these songs. So it's been a great platform to see how God can use that, and it's changing people. So thank the Lord for that.
Final question, and this is going to be a fun one for you. With what I do, I have a chance to talk to a lot of singers and bands, some of which I love and some of which I know you love. And the singers of both of these two bands have brought up that they would like to tour with Skillet, Petra and Stryper. What do you think of a Petra, Stryper, Skillet tour?
Well, that'd be a tour that I'd want to watch all the time, because I was, a huge fan of both of those acts,
Yes.
So honestly, nothing would surprise me. The Stryper thing has come up quite a lot, probably because they still tour and they're kind of and we're kind of a metal band.
I just saw them
So,
week, so.
Oh, cool, yeah, I would not be surprised at all if we ended up doing something like that.
Now, that would be very cool it'd be like the past and the present, then throw We As Human on their past, present, and future. I wanted to see what your take on that was. I just had to ask. And so,
Cool.
So, John, thank you so much for taking time today. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, and hopefully I'll see you down the road, man.
Definitely, man. Take it easy. Have a great show tonight.
All right, thanks.